Namaste and welcome to our continuing series, The Synthesis of Yoga with Ranganath. Today we are in the chapter The Systems of Yoga, page number 39, the last paragraph, The Path of Works.
In this chapter, The Systems of Yoga, Sri has been describing some of the yogas. Okay, he has described the Hatha Yoga, then he has described the Raja Yoga, then the triple yoga, the Jnana Yoga, the Bhakti Yoga, and now he comes to Karma Yoga. Okay, so we'll read the passage, we'll read the paragraph and then come back to it. The path of works aims at the dedication of every human activity to the Supreme Will. It begins by the renunciation of all egoistic aim for our works, all pursuit of action for an interested aim or for the sake of a worldly result. By this renunciation, it so purifies the mind and the will that we become easily conscious of the great energy, universal energy, as the true doer of all our actions and the Lord of that energy as their ruler and director, with the individual as only a mask, an excuse, an instrument, or more positively, a conscious center of action and phenomenal relation. The choice and direction of the act is more and more consciously left to the Supreme Will and this universal energy. To that, our works, as well as the result of our works, are finally abandoned. The object is the release of the soul from its bondage to appearances and to the reaction of phenomenal activities. Karma Yoga is used, like the other paths, to lead to liberation from phenomenal existence and a departure into the Supreme. But here too, the exclusive result is not inevitable. The end of the path may be, equally, a perception of the divine in all energies, in all happenings, in all activities, and a free and unegoistic participation of the soul in the cosmic action. So followed, it will lead to the elevation of all human will and activity to the divine level, its spiritualization and the justification of the cosmic labor towards freedom, power and perfection in the human being. So, we'll go back to the beginning of the para. Basically what he's saying is that there is the third, and those who are engaged in the physical world with its activities and all that are recommended to do the Karma Yoga. It's the most effective way. The Jnana Yoga, traditionally, you sit quietly in one corner, and if you sit quietly in one corner so that the noise of the traffic doesn't disturb you, the noise of your neighbor's house or your family members looking at the TV don't disturb you, you go and lock yourself up somewhere, up in the attic or somewhere in your room and close the door. But then you are cutting yourself off from the physical world. But Sri has told you that is not necessary. You can resort to a practice of concentration even while doing anything. It's possible, theoretically and very practically at a last level, to think of God even if you are playing football or playing sitar or whatever you are doing. You can think of the divine. And thinking of the divine and remembering Him is one way of the Jnana Yoga. Same thing with the Bhakti Yoga. Their intention is to get away from the physical world, because the physical world is seen as something permanently imperfect. Sri Aurobindo does not agree with the permanent imperfection of the physical world. He doesn't believe in that, because there is an evolution. We are in the we have got stabilized at the mental level, but there is no guarantee that it won't go further. After all, it has already gone from matter to life to mind, and every time there is a quantum jump in consciousness. It is far superior. Life is superior to matter, mind is superior to life, so naturally there is a gradation. So why should we stop at mind? We should go to next one. That's exactly what Sri Aurobindo has come on earth to tell, that the evolution of consciousness can continue. Okay? So, Karma Yoga is a very powerful method for that. In fact, Mother used to recommend mostly Karma Yoga. Okay? Sri Aurobindo used to say that it is good to keep aside half an hour a day at least for meditation and quieting yourself, because you must also get the habit of non-activity. There are some people who are over active, so they cannot sit quiet. They will have to do something or other. But it is necessary to be able to sit quietly for some time without fidgeting and without any desires entering the vital or any thoughts entering the mind. You have to train yourself for that. So, in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, the most powerful method is surrender and a remembrance. Remember, offer, remember, offer. So, these are the three traditional paths, and all of them, there is a tendency to reject the physical world. But he has also put, for each one, he has said that's not the only way. It can be done also by being in the physical world and engaging in whatever action you have chosen. You may be a doctor, you may be a diplomat, you may be an engineer, you may be a musician, painter, whatever. But you don't need to reject the physical world. So now, with this background, we read the para. The path of works aims at the dedication of every human activity to the Supreme Will. This is the Karma Yoga. It begins by the renunciation of all egoistic aim for our works. So that's the first thing. You have to begin, in the Gita you use the word Nishkama Karma. Every karma that you do, there should be no desire in it. And desire will be there if you have an ego. So if you start doing egoless works or desireless works, slowly, the desires goes away and you will be doing the work for, not for yourself, but for something else, for the divine. That's an ideal condition, but you may also think of lesser gods, okay? Somebody will be doing it for Ram, somebody will be doing it for Ganesh, somebody will be doing it for Buddha, but the ultimate aim is the Supreme Lord, okay? So, this is a Karma Yoga. And when you do that, it begins by the renunciation of all egoistic aim for our works. You don't do anything for yourself. Not only for yourself, but also for an interested aim. It may not be for yourself, but it may be for something else. Okay? I want to help that person. Interested aim. Can an interested aim be absolutely egoless? It can be, but it usually is not at our level, because you want to take egoistic credit for what you have done. So, it is possible. Of course, a yogi does that. Okay? Sri Aurobindo and Mother are doing a huge amount of work, but they are interested in the welfare of all their disciples. But there is no ego in it. So it's possible, but difficult, not easy. So, interested aim or for the sake of a worldly result. Now that's very interesting, because take the example of Sri Aurobindo himself. If you read the Uttarpada speech, he is saying that the Uttarpada speech was when he came out of jail. So, he says there that I was doing work for the nation. I was not doing anything for myself. Okay? And yet I was removed from there and put into prison. And I was wondering, what have you done? I am telling Sri Krishna, what have you done? Because he used to always have an interaction with Sri Krishna. So, he's saying, I was doing an important work and you put me here. So, but he found later on that there was an element of interest and attachment to the work. So, when he was told to give up that work and that work will be continued by others, you go to Pondicherry and do some much more important work. He came to Pondicherry, he obeyed immediately. But even he had the problem. Because you are doing for either your nation or your for a worldly result, not for yourself. So that's why you'll see this idea in Sri Aurobindo all the time. Altruism, philanthropy, works for general mankind, charity is good at that level, but it's not a spiritual activity. You don't need to do it for spiritual activity, okay? Because ego comes in always. So it begins by the renunciation of all egoistic aim for our works, all pursuit of action for an interested aim or for the sake of a worldly result. By this renunciation, it so purifies the mind and the will that we become easily conscious of the great universal energy as the true doer of all our actions, and the Lord of that energy as the ruler and director, with the individual as only a mask, an excuse, an instrument, or more positively, a conscious center of action and phenomenal relation. So we'll go phrase by phrase and we'll see. So first he's saying, by that renunciation, when you remove, you don't do it for yourself but do it for somebody else, naturally this desire and ego is a veil that covers, and if the veil goes away, you realize that you are not doing anything, it is universal nature which is doing in you. If you see carefully, you will see that universal nature is working everywhere. In matter, universal nature is making the river flow. The river is not flowing by itself. It's a universal Prakriti that is making the river flow. The sun is shining. It is again nature, universal nature which is doing that. So, when you come to animals also, the animals are also propelled by their nature, individual nature, which is part of universal nature. The tree is growing by itself, it is acting. The tree is growing by itself, but doesn't think I am growing. But when it comes to man, the same thing applies. When you are a baby, you are growing up. You don't think that I am growing up. In fact, you do think that you are growing up because you have an ego. But if that egoism goes away, then you realize that nature is acting and you are not acting. So that's a big thing. Then who is this Lord? The Prakriti. And the Lord is the Purusha, the consciousness. Okay, so we'll have a look at that. And the will purifies the mind and the will. It so purifies the mind that we become easily conscious of the great universal energy. So the great universal energy is Prakriti, as the true doer of all our actions, and the Lord of that energy, Purusha. So there is Purusha, which is consciousness, and Prakriti is the force. And the force is the Lord's force only. But when you go to the second level of consciousness, the second level, the spiritual planes, you see that there is hardly any connection between Purusha and Prakriti. You are in a conscious condition, and that's a reality. And the physical world is moving by itself mechanically, unconsciously. That's the first experience of the Nirvana or the Self or the Atman, if you want.
The witness poise.
The Brahman consciousness.
The witness poise.
The what?
The witness poise.
Yeah, that's right. The witness poise. You're not participating, you're just watching. Okay, that's the first. So, the Lord of that energy as a ruler and director, with the individual only as a mask, an excuse, an instrument, or more positively, is it necessary always to see the individual as a mask, an excuse, an instrument? That's what the Buddhist is doing, and that's what the Mayavadan is doing. But now Sri Aurobindo is adding a little positive touch of his own yoga. Is the individual really that unimportant? No. More positively, a conscious center of action and phenomenal relation. So, even the individual, we must not belittle his importance. Sri Aurobindo says that the infinite is no doubt big, but the infinitesimal is also to be, it's the principle of the divine is infinity as well as infinitesimal. So, both are equally important. He has got this idea in many places. In that poem, Who, you remember? The hand that sent Jupiter spinning through heaven spends all its cunning to fashion a curl. So, the highest and the biggest and also the smallest. Okay. In Life Divine, he uses the word he makes the vast universe, but he also pays the same attention to the building of an anthill. So this is the idea. And other poets also have seen that idea, that the infinite and the finite are really involved in each other. In the infinite, the potentiality of the finite is there, and in the infinitesimal also it is possible to see the universe in a grain of sand. Okay, so the famous lines of William Blake. Okay, in his poem Auguries of Innocence, which he says, "To see a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour." So the same idea, same thing saying here also, that the individual also has got his own, more positively, a conscious center of action and phenomenal relation. And even when the divine is acting through the Prakriti, but he needs the individual as a point of leverage, as an instrument. This is a very important aspect, because the divine does not work himself directly in the physical world, but he works through the Prakriti, and Prakriti is working through the individual. So, in another place he will tell you that nature, not content with her own slow progress, creates man so that her own evolution can become faster. And what is that? Yoga. The animal can't do yoga, but the human being can do yoga. So her universal nature's evolution will be faster. So he puts it in that way. Okay, so the individual as only a mask, an excuse, an instrument. This is the Buddhistic view. In fact, they go even farther. They say that the individual has no reality. Okay, but here Sri Aurobindo is saying at least a mask or excuse. But is it really only an instrument and a mask? No, he is also a conscious center of action and phenomenal relation. Conscious center of action is very clear. He is very conscious of what he is doing. And phenomenal relation. Relations with others, but they are phenomenal and not absolute. Phenomenal means something transient. Okay. Phenomenon, and the other word is noumenon, which is permanent. Okay, so the choice and direction of the act is more and more consciously left to the supreme will and this universal energy. The supreme will is the Purusha, and this universal energy is Prakriti. So, as you go on doing the action, not for yourself, but offering it to the Lord, slowly the thing comes that you start becoming conscious of the fact that he is guiding you. So if he is guiding you, you realize that you are doing it for him. Okay, so this becomes the choice and direction of the act is more and more consciously left to this supreme will. Let him do what he wants, and this universal energy. To that, note that he has put that with a T-cap. Okay, to that, our works as well as the result of our works are finally abandoned. Why is he saying to that and not something more positive? Because it is usually ineffable. The divine can't be described in any way. He is beyond all description. No? So, to that, and also it can be, the divine can be impersonal as well as personal. So that's why he is using the word that. Okay, tat. In Sanskrit we use the word tat, na? Om tat sat. Okay, yes. So that is. To that our works as well as the results. Now note that. Okay. Normally we do something work, but we are interested in the result. We want success. We want a good result. But he is saying, do the work as best as you can, but don't worry about the result. Slowly, even the work you do as best as you can, but don't be attached to it. Okay, so to that our works as well as the result of our works are finally abandoned. The object of Karma Yoga in the traditional path is the release of the soul from its bondage to appearances and to the reaction of phenomenal activities. So this we'll have to carefully look. Okay, so first of all he's saying release from the soul. So where is the soul? It is trapped in the body-mind life. So it has to be released. That's a prison house. The body, the mind and the life. It has to be released. And when the consciousness goes out, it feels that it is standing outside the body, mind, life. They even speak of it as standing above the head, okay? And watching. Like you are on a mountain top and watching what's going on in the valley. You are only a witness, you are not too much interested, but you are watching, okay? It's not that you are not watching, you are watching. The object is the release of the soul from its bondage to appearances and to the reaction of phenomenal activities. Everything that's happening in the physical world, okay, there's no reaction from you. Yeah. The results of our works and is the release from its bondage to appearances and the reaction. So you are also being released from the reaction to phenomenal activities. I think we have discussed this earlier, but this idea comes up again and again, and it is very much there in Indian philosophy. Okay, that is to say, you are there in the universe and you are interacting with the universe all the time. The universe is acting on you and you are acting on the universe. When the universe is acting on you, it is acting through your 5 senses. The eyes, the ears, the tongue, the nose and the skin, touch. So these are the 5 senses. The universe is affecting you through your senses. If your senses are not there, the universe won't exist for you. So it is through the senses that you are experiencing the universe. But when there is this impact of the universe on you, you react. And that is so these are the Jnana Yogas and they are the Karma Yogas. Jnanendriya, the senses of knowledge, and the Karmendriya, the work that you are doing in the universe. Okay, you using your hands, I can have an effect in the physical world by using my hands. I can either caress somebody or slap somebody. I have an effect in the physical world. I use my legs also for that. So, and also the 2 organs at the lower end of the body. There also you are interacting with the physical world. And the last one is speech. My speech can have an effect in the physical world. So the world is interacting with you and you are not interacting with the world. But when you do this karma yoga and give up everything to the divine, you are released from reaction of phenomenal activities. In other words, the world is acting in you, but you are not acting back. You are absolutely calm, quiet, no reaction from you at all. This is stage 1. But Sri Aurobindo says, of course you should react, but in the right way. That comes afterwards. So first you are reacting in the wrong way at level 1. You are reacting when someone scolds you, you react with anger. Second level, you don't react at all, even if someone insults you. Third level, you do answer and get back, but now your reaction is the right one. So what would be the right action if someone insults you? You explain to him why it is not so. Very calmly, quietly, you can turn around everybody. Okay? So this was the meaning of the reaction. The release from the reaction to phenomenal activities. Okay? So, Karma Yoga is used, like the other paths, to lead to liberation from phenomenal existence, the world, and a departure into the Supreme. So, from level 1 of the body-mind life, you are going into the transcendent consciousness. Okay, that's the usual. The Supreme is the third level, the transcendent consciousness. But here too, the exclusive result is not inevitable. What are you excluding? You are excluding the physical world. But he says it's not necessary to exclude the physical world. Most of the traditional paths say, if you work in the physical world, it will generate desire in you, it will generate ego in you, so don't do it. So get away from the physical world if you want to be spiritually free. Sri is saying not necessary. Much more difficult, his path. But then you are having an interaction with the physical world, you are helping others, and you are also taking the evolution forward. So, that's what. Karma Yoga is used like the other paths to lead to liberation from phenomenal existence and a departure into the Supreme. But here too, the exclusive result is not inevitable. The end of the path may be equally a perception of the divine in all energies. So, in the Karma Yoga, you are finally leaving the physical world and going away. But it need not be like that. You can see the divine in everything in the physical world. Naturally, you are not going to give up the physical world. You can see the divine in stones, in trees, in insects. Everywhere you see the divine. That also could be Pantheism, what is known as Pantheism. Seeing divine in nature. Okay, that is also possible. That's what he's saying. The end of the path may be equally a perception of the divine in all energies, in all happenings, in all activities, and a free and unegoistic participation of the soul in the cosmic action. The cosmos is acting, there is an evolution, and you are participating in that action. You become part of the universal action without release from it. Okay? Cosmic action. So followed, it will lead to the elevation of all human will and activity to the divine level. Its spiritualization and the justification of the cosmic labor towards freedom, power, and perfection in the human being. So, if you do that very well, then all your actions also will become divine. That's what he's saying. And what will you get? What is meant by divine? You will be free. You will not be a slave to your body-mind life. We all are slaves to our body-mind life. The body says, I want to eat, you will eat. The body says, I want to sleep, you will sleep. Power, you will get power. Now we are powerless. We have some power, very limited power. But Sri Aurobindo had power to even change events in the physical world. Perfection in the human being. Perfection, all the qualities that you can think of the divine will be there in you. Okay? And he's saying another thing, justification of the cosmic labor. Now that's interesting because in the beginning when you see the physical world, and why is the Mayavadan and the Buddhist giving up the physical world? It is so imperfect. There is death, there is falsehood, there is dirt, there is perversion. So impossible. But if you see the divine behind all these outer forms, you are not going to give up the physical world. That's what he's saying. Okay, so and there is a story in the Vedas, in the Rig Veda, where the divine and man are going together in a chariot. They are going to heaven, and it is Indra who is the divine, and Kutsa who is the human being. And the word Kutsa also is interesting, imperfect, okay, and very limited. Kutsa, properly. But they are sitting in the same carriage and going. This is the idea in the Life Divine also, and also in the Rig Veda, even in the Gita. There is Sri Krishna sitting in the chariot and there is Arjuna, the human being. Okay, so they are going, but as they are traveling together, Nara, Narayana. Narayana is the divine and Nara is the human being. But as they travel, what is the travel? Yogic process. So they are going, and finally when they reach heaven, they have become so similar to each other that the others can't make out the difference between Indra and Kutsa. So that's what Sri Aurobindo is saying, put on the divine nature. Okay? All your human will and activity to the divine level. You will have a divine nature. Okay? So that is the only Indra's wife, Shachi, can make out the difference between them because she is pure of heart. But the others can't make out the difference between Indra and Kutsa. That's the story. Okay, so that's what he's saying. Now, there is another interesting thing which one can say here. The Nara and Narayana, they are going together in that chariot. And the idea is basically the same also in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so Sri Krishna driving the chariot and Arjuna there being guided by him. Okay, cosmic labor. So when you reach the divine consciousness, you start understanding why there is suffering in the world and why there is misery, why there is so much of, why is death there, all this you understand. And what was a problem to you in the beginning in understanding these things now gets justified. The problems, you see the justification for their existence. That's what he means by the justification of the cosmic labor. If you remember, in all the other paras also he has used this word. In fact, there he has used the word cosmic travail. Here he is using cosmic labor. Okay? So he has covered Hatha Yoga, Raj Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. These are the systems that he has discussed. There are other systems also which have come into existence, but there are so many different things. In fact, his own contribution is there, the integral yoga, which he describes over 800 pages. And by the way, he said that he never completed the book.
Yes, the synthesis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Synthesis is not complete.
But in that ways, even Savitri is not complete.
Yes. The whole book of death is not complete at all. He starts from Canto 3. So, that's the thing. So,
but we can say that the life divine is complete.
yes. He revised it in the 1940s. He revised the life divine.
The whole book.
Yeah. But there is a supplement to that. Okay. The supramental manifestation upon earth. The description of the Superman and the relation with the Superman and human beings. He has discussed that in detail in Life Divine also, but there also he has discussed that. What will be the nature of the human body,
right,
the divine body, that he has discussed. So, we have completed the systems. Now let's see what he says next. So, he has described all these. So now his integral yoga is a synthesis of all these systems. He wants to combine them. So how to do that? That's what he's going to discuss. Okay? We can see also that in the integral view of things, these three paths are one. They all end in perfection, freedom and power. We can see also that in the integral view of things, these three paths are one. Divine love should normally lead to the perfect knowledge of the beloved by perfect intimacy, thus becoming a path of knowledge, and to divine service, thus becoming a path of works. So also should perfect knowledge lead to perfect love and joy, and a full acceptance of the works of that which is known. Dedicated works to the entire love of the Master of Sacrifice and the deepest knowledge of his ways and his being. It is in this triple path that we come most readily to the absolute knowledge, love, and service of the One in all beings and in the entire cosmic manifestation. So he's giving you a hint here that my integral yoga will be a combination of all these.
Of this.
But how to do it, that's what he will discuss.
Maybe not a combination, but all of these having their play,
Yes.
respective play.
A combination in that sense that you don't do all together, that's what
Right.
we'll discuss in the next chapter. Can we do all together? Or can we do one by one?
One by one.
So, or do we have to find a principle which is common to all of them? That's what he's going to discuss in the next chapter. Okay? So first he's saying divine love. When you love somebody, you are constantly in touch with that person and there is an intimacy. So you naturally come to know him. So it leads to knowledge. It's very obvious. And when you have knowledge and you see that he is divine, naturally you want to serve him.
Right.
So
all your action becomes service to the divine.
Yes, that's what he's saying. Or also, so also should perfect knowledge. When you see you have perfect knowledge of the Jnana Yoga, it can lead to perfect love and joy and a full acceptance of the works of that which is known. So each one, whether it be Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, if pursued to its ultimate aim, often they don't pursue it to the ultimate aim, it can lead on to the other paths. That's what he's saying. The possibility is there. Okay.